I'm AC Brown, and you're listening to Is My Aura On Straight, a podcast designed to help you start living from your core instead of your conditioning. Each week, we'll discuss topics ranging from human design, astrology, metaphysics, spiritual self-development, and everything in between. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Is My Aura On Straight. I am your host, AC Brown. I am your spiritual doula, intuitive strategist, and human design expert, and I'm also an entrepreneur. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Is My Aura On Straight. And to keep with the theme of the not self, we are going to be talking about manifesting generators, the impatient, frustrated ones. As I said before, and if you are just listening to this episode and not the other ones, we must deal with the not self. That's why I'm doing these. The not self is the part of us we struggle with the most when we come to human design and we are in our beginning stages of the deconditioning process. So, like I said, today we're talking about my impatient manifesting generators. So, manifesting generators, your purpose is, of course, mastery, but it's to find shortcuts to mastery. And your strategy is a little bit different because you have a little bit of manifestor in you and a whole lot of generator. So your strategy is to respond, imagine, inform, and then act. So what does that mean? So that means it's a little bit, it actually should be imagine, respond, then inform and act. That is my belief because if manifesting generators have two kind of ways that they get to respond to stuff. They get to imagine it in their minds first and then allow the universe to bring it to them so they can respond to it and then inform the people around them. That's the little bit of the manifesting part of them, and then act. And then they have the regular respond. Something gets presented to them, then they imagine how they want it to happen, the outcome, and then they inform the people around them on what's going to happen, and then they act. So that is why I like to say it's like twofold when it comes to manifesting generators. Manifesting generators, where you get frustrated is trying to initiate external things and trying to be too much of a manifester. Because like I said before on the previous podcast, that the world is kind of conditioned by manifestor kind of terminology and ideology is us just doing it. Manifesting generators are the ones that take that to the next level of just doing it, of just going about it. And this is where they get frustrated. Manifesting generators, yes, you can do multiple things, and we'll get into that. But you still have to be a little bit patient, and we'll talk about that too. Manifesting generators are very impatient and aggressive when it comes to pursuing their goals or the things that they want. But what they fail to realize is that they still need to respond to sacral sounds. They still need to know what they want. They still have to listen to that internal hell yes or hell no of their sacral center to see if they want it. Now, their purpose is to find work that they love, but work where they can be efficient. Meaning that they're supposed to find shortcuts to mastery. So they have to find things where they can be efficient in it. Now, because manifesting generators can do multiple things, here's where they get impatient and frustrated a lot. They forget that they still have to master something. They're like, oh, I can do multiple things. I'm a multi-passionate entrepreneur, which, a lot of people are. I am. But I always tell manifesting generators to keep it in the same wheelhouse, because when it's outside of wheelhouses and things like that, that's when you guys get extremely frustrated and things don't work out for you because of that. So you have to keep it in the same wheelhouse. It is extremely important to do so. So manifesting generators, the impatience that they feel comes from you feel it still trying to go after the things that you want when you shouldn't in the traditional sense, meaning that the initiating part that you do is going to really, really hurt you in the long run. So stop initiating in the traditional sense. So go after what you want in your mind first. So if you want to pursue something, if you want to be somebody, or, attain some type of goal, go after it in your mind first and allow the universe to bring it to you. The difference between you and pure generators is that generators literally have to allow it to happen to them. Here, you guys get to create what you want. So that's the great thing. However, the impatient part comes in because you create it in your mind and you're like, wait a minute, it's not happening fast enough. So let me just go and do it anyway. And that's not the correct thing to do for you. So the correct thing for you to do as a manifesting generator would be to create in your mind and then allow the universe to bring it to you. Hopefully you can be patient enough to do that, but in most cases, I doubt it, but we'll talk a little bit about that. So because manifesting generators because you guys can do multiple things at once, you get so busy doing all of these things that you never slow down enough to listen to your sacral center, to the desires of your sacral center. And that's where the impatience comes in. And that's where the frustration comes in. Manifesting generators, how I like to say, you can always tell when, and this is, I'm sorry to laugh at you guys, but you can always tell when a manifesting generator is being impatient, number one, and they are not happy with the results that they are currently getting. And I'll use an example of being on a few people's email lists who I know are manifesting generators. So yes, they can do multiple things at the same time, but it needs to be in the same wheelhouse. For instance, I'll see a manifesting generator who I know is a manifesting generator, and within 3 weeks, they will have offered me 3 different programs, hands down, that are totally different from each other, are totally different offers. And it's like, oh, hey, what's up? Blah, blah, blah. And then they tell a story, which is fine. That's marketing. But then it's like a totally different offer from the last offer. And it's just like, I thought you were focusing on this. And then it's just like, this is interesting. And then they totally switch it up. Or you'll see a manifesting generator. This is very common, to change their website multiple times within like the matter of like a quarter. They'll constantly be changing their website because they're frustrated. They're doing too many things at one time and they're getting impatient with the results. I've seen it time and time again. Manifesting generators like, oh, I have a new website. Like, girl, you just launched a new website 2 months ago. Like, can you let it marinate? And that's where manifesting generators get extremely frustrated because they're doing too many things at one time. I like to tell manifesting generators, keep it in the same wheelhouse, but try not to do more than 2 or 3 things. And please put it all together if you can. But stay the course because you are still trying to master something. You're definitely trying to find shortcuts to mastery, but you still have to master something. And that's where they get a little bit lost in the sauce. It's because they're like, oh, I'm a manifesting generator. I can make things happen and I can do the work. Great. That is awesome. Thumbs up. However, you're going to constantly be getting frustrated and being impatient with what's happening because you can't stick to, 2 main things in your wheelhouse. It's constantly changing. So just, think about that. If you're a manifesting generator and you're listening to that, and that impatience is going to constantly creep up on you and be a pain for you. It's going to really hurt you in the long run. Because you are not giving anything a chance to set in and to marinate. That is the biggest thing that I see manifesting generators struggle with. They don't, it's like they're making chicken, and the recipe calls for, brining something for overnight. You guys are just like, well, do I really need to brine it for a whole 24 hours? Can I just do 12? And then you wonder why the recipe doesn't taste the same as when you had it before. You need to brine the chicken. You need to brine the beef or whatever you're brining. Like, just let it marinate for a little bit and like give, people a chance to get caught up to what you're doing because you're moving so fast. Because of that manifest apart, but you are still a generator. You still have to master something. You're just here to find shortcuts to mastery. You're here to imagine things for you to respond to and then act on. So you have some tweaks, but the long game is still mastery. You can master, and you need to master one thing, but you can master multiple things, but they need to be in the same wheelhouse. So you can't be a hairstylist. I used that in the last podcast, but you can't be a hairstylist and a tattoo artist. Like, no, girl. Like, you can't do that. So you have to bring it down. But you can be, as a manifesting generator, you can have a hair salon where you specialize in hair extensions and color. Like, you can do that. So manifesting generators, to, stop your impatience, you really need to let things marinate a little bit. Give people a chance to catch up to your ideas. Give people a chance to catch up to your way of thinking, your visions, because you are visionaries, absolutely, because of the way you think and the way you're able to think things into existence. But when you're constantly thinking all the time and you're constantly doing stuff all the time, you're just not giving people a chance to catch up. Like, I think I said this in another podcast. If you put a manifesting generator and a generator in like the workplace together, and they were let's say they were both in competition, let's say for a sales competition, whoever's going to sell the most of something. The generator, 9 times out of 10, if we're looking at, let's say we're going by the year, the generator over the year is probably going to win. Now, the manifesting generator, they might win for the quarter. They might win for quarter 1, for quarter 2, because they've, been doing things and they found a shortcut. And then what will happen is that quarter 3, they'll start making mistakes. Because they're moving too fast. They're doing multiple things. They'll start making mistakes in their sales process or the way that they are selling something. And then they'll have to go back and redo stuff. Meanwhile, the pure generator has been perfecting the one way of mastering that particular sales process since January. So by the time the third quarter comes, he's got a flow, or she's got a flow. She knows what works for that part of, her sales process, what doesn't. And she's able to finish out the rest of the year kicking ass and beating the manifesting generator, because by third quarter, since the manifesting generator was just making sales and selling and doing this and being all over the place, and yes, I'm a sales genius and I know how to do this. They weren't looking at the details. They were just selling. And then they get to third quarter and they're just like, oh, wait, this is not right. I should have did this wrong. Oh, wait, a lot of my people are returning these items and these returns are getting hit against my sales. So now it's like starting from scratch, because all of these things that they missed because they were doing multiple things and multitasking, they didn't give themselves a chance to correct them first or second quarter. So now they're spending third quarter, correcting all of the mistakes and all of the things that they missed from moving too fast in first and second quarter. But meanwhile, the generator has already perfected some of those things that he missed, that he tweaked in first quarter, tweaked in second quarter. And now by third quarter, he's like, oh, my sales process is on point. She's like, her sales process is on point. She has it down packed to a T, because she has done the work to master the things that she needed to. Meanwhile, the manifesting generator is like, oh, I have to go back. So then that's why they win. So my manifesting generators who are listening to this, I advise you to really slow down, because the problems that you have already is that things never move fast enough for manifesting generators. They have a very big problem with moving so fast and just, I'm just going to, get it done. Yes, you can, your workhorses, manifesting generators can produce things amazing. It's phenomenal the way they can produce stuff and get things out into the world. However, you will constantly see them making mistakes or redoing stuff over or switching their offer the next week. Just give it time. They have, I see this all the time. If you go to a manifesting generator coach or someone who teaches or someone, especially in the service industry, they have so many offers that it's ridiculous. Granted, yes, they can do all of the offers and they, can produce it and they can produce content. Great. And I'm going to talk about this in my Pathway to Profits masterclass that I'm doing for business owners. But they can produce stuff really great. They can produce stuff, but they have too many things. They confuse people all the time. Sometimes people don't know what's going on, and it's because they're impatient with the process. You still have to master something. So that's why I said, if you are a manifesting generator, pick 2 things in the wheelhouse, and that's it. And focus on, or, have a little, or what I like to call a little triangle. Have a top of the, peak that are, that's what you're trying to master, the ultimate thing that you are trying to master. And then on the 2 little, on the bottom, have 2 things that are subsidiaries of that you can, intertwine with the top, peak, as you go along. So, the points when you get bored, you can deal with something that's in one of those 2 corners, but you're still focused on that top peak. So there's value in waiting and developing patience, because just like generators, you also too have plateaus. But your plateaus are way more ignored than a generator, because you are moving so fast and you have so many things going on that you can't even feel a plateau. Because if a plateau comes, you're just like, oh, I'm just going to move on to something else. And it's different because you have so many things, so many moving parts already. But there's value for you, especially manifesting generators. Because like I said, in my research of charts and millionaires, billionaires, thought leaders, and people who are affluent in our society, in the order, manifesting generators lead. Then you have projectors, then you have generators, and then you have manifestors, and then reflectors. So you're leading the creation of, the majority of the wealth that we have here. But part of you doing that, especially when you're at the beginning stages, is finding value in waiting and developing your patience and really using that time to slow down and listen to the sacral, your sacral desires, so you can start visioning and imagining things more clearer for you to respond to. That is the power of manifesting generators. You really have a gift at being able to, especially when you're aligned and you're on the right path, you really have a gift to slow down and visualize the things that you want, that you need, that you desire, and allow the universe to come and bring that to you. But you can't slow down enough to vision if you're doing multiple things at once. So just remember that there's value in waiting and developing patience. Also, manifesting generators, you're not manifestors. Let's focus there. Let's focus. I said that a little bit earlier, and you've probably heard on another podcast, but you are not manifestors. Let's get that out of your head. You are majority generator. You definitely have it's like, when people say, I'm half this and I have a little bit of this in me, as far as like your nationality, like, oh, I'm half, German and half Indian and half all of this stuff. That's how it is for generators. You're mainly a generator, but you have a little bit of manifestor in you. And that manifestor does need to inform people, but that strategy is still respond, imagine, inform, and act. Or like I like to say, I think sometimes it's imagine, respond, then inform and act in certain cases. So just remember that you have a little bit of manifestor in you, not a whole lot, just a little bit, but the little bit that you do have is extremely powerful. If you use it correctly, if you're patient with yourself and you slow down, you're able to create the life that you want. So I love manifesting generators because you do have that power to create the life that you want, but that's where it just gets a little confused and convoluted because you're like, oh, well, that means I can initiate. No, it doesn't. You can initiate in your mind. Absolutely. Go for it. Go balls to the walls with sitting down for an hour each day and manifesting within your mind, visioning the life that you want to happen for that day, for that week, for that month, for that year. Awesome. But then be open and allow the universe to bring the rest to you. That's how you're going to get to your wealth and your wishes and all of that stuff. Another issue with your impatience as a manifesting generator is that because you're doers and you're able to do stuff so well at times and just do it and produce stuff, that you want it done your way. And so therefore you don't allow input from anybody else. You just go ahead and do it. And that's where the slowing down part needs to come into play. You need to slow down and give people a chance to do it. So that's just really important for you as well. So that's what I have for my manifesting generators on the not self. I hope you enjoy this. If you have any questions, like I say all the time, feel free to email me or DM me, all of that stuff. And if you are not following me on Instagram, make sure you follow me on AC Brown on Instagram. And if you are just listening to this for the first time and you don't know your aura type, please find your aura type. You can go to my not to my DMs, my Instagram, and to my link in my bio, and you can fill out what's my aura type. And if you know your aura type and you want to get some more in-depth information about your aura and your chart specifically, and for us to work those kinks out, definitely go to the link in my bio on my website for the work with me, and you can purchase a Who You Are in Human Design reading. I love doing them. They are super fun and they are super enlightening and effective for the people on the other end. So thank you so much for joining for another episode of Is My Aura on Straight? And like I always say, please make sure you have a great day filled with good vibes and good energy. And I will talk to you again soon. Bye. Thank you for listening to another episode of Is My Aura on Straight? Make sure you follow me on Instagram at AC Brown, and also check out my website for products and services at www.acbrown.com. And until we meet again, make sure you have a great week filled with good vibes and good energy.